don't have the information that can be helpful for them. And today I have with me Favour Samuel, as you saw, as I announced earlier in the week, who is a survivor of fibroids. Like, you're going through this, and if you're not going through it, you may know someone who may know someone. So people don't ordinarily open up and share this type of personal story with everyone. So just spread this information because people are looking for it. I'm also going to pin in the comments information that will help you to reach her details, so that you can reach her on WhatsApp to talk with her briefly if you have any questions, or you can get the book that she's written.
My Lord, in that sense.
My motivation is to women going through the journey I went through for 25 years, who have no information, no support, no help. They are confused about what is going on with, and so I decided that if I had experienced this fibroid for 25 years, I should be able to use my experience to help other women out there, because I know 80% of Black women are suffering
80%.
from this fibroids. They are, yes, 80% of women of color are at high risk of having fibroids at some point in their lives. So this is, maybe you want to call it a pandemic, but a lot of women are suffering silently, going through this, asking questions, but not getting the relevant answers. So I decided that it will be worthwhile getting back my lost years by sharing my experience. A lot of women are in pain and they don't know who to talk to. They don't even know what's wrong with them. So I want to come out to say, look, you don't have to suffer in silence. You don't have to go through this journey alone. You can get support, you can get the knowledge, information to navigate this route and be fibroid free. Yes, you can be fibroid free. I struggled for 25 years. I did not know what to do, no help, no support. So I am out here to say that, look, this is me. I went through it just like you are going through it. And there's nothing wrong with you. You did not do anything wrong. But you can always, reach out to me and let me tell you how I went through these 25 years, the symptoms, because some people don't have the kind of symptoms I had.
Okay, so that I can be sure that we get some questions out of the way, just get some information out of the way. I will ask you a few things, and then I will let you share this journey of this 25 years of your pain with us, with everyone, so that they understand how it was for you personally, so that they can see exactly what you went through, because some people are going through. I'm not going to let you start right away, because I know you get lost in the moment of it. So let me just get some few questions out of the way. I've heard people say that this only starts later when a woman is in her prime. I want to know from your own story, I know that it started when you were younger. Was it in your late teens?
Yes.
Your late teens, exactly. Because I was telling someone about it, and the person was like, no, that it doesn't happen to young girls. And I was like, but I think that this lady told me that this happened at the phase of life you were in. I knew that you were still a teenager at that time. And so I wanted to get that out of the way. So sometimes it happens to even teenagers, right? Like in your case. Okay. So what symptoms could be an indicator that a young girl will see? What symptoms could be an indicator that she should probably go and get herself checked for this? What would you say?
Okay, thank you. So there are some symptoms. First of all, I will explain that some people show symptoms while others do not show symptoms. But for those who notice these symptoms, please go and check yourself. Not just doing ultrasound scan, you need to do an MRI. An MRI shows you exactly how many numbers. It peaks to the tiniest of them to show you how many you have already growing in your uterus. So the symptoms you should look out for is heavy bleeding, heavy periods, painful periods, prolonged periods. When you have periods beyond 3 days, 4 days, something is wrong. Please go and check. Then you could have pelvic pain, pelvic pressure. You could have difficulty urinating. You want to urinate, but the urine is not coming out completely. You have that pressure, but it's not just going away. You go to ease yourself, you still feel that pressure. And then, of course, some people do have cramps. When we're growing up, we're told that menses comes with pains, cramps. But sometimes the cramps might be something unusual. So when you're having cramps, pelvic cramps, you need to go and check. It's not enough for you to assume that, oh, it's a normal thing. No, it's not. Particularly when you are in your reproductive years. Please, once you're in your reproductive years, you should pay attention. Your body speaks to you as a woman, and it will give you symptoms and signs you should not ignore. You shouldn't ignore. Then also, in my case, at some point, I started having cravings for ice. I was chewing ice. Crazy symptoms. I was chewing ice. Also,
that's
some symptoms
from your lack of from losing too much blood, maybe lack of iron.
Yes. Then of course, Then of course you would have anemia, feeling faint, fainting, dizzy spells, and then sometimes you're always feeling tired, feeling fatigued. For some women, you have low libido. Yes, fibroids cause low libido. You may not understand.
All these symptoms sound very similar to endometriosis. You know about
Yes,
endometriosis?
I know about that. I know about endometriosis, but they are fibrosis. It has its own unique. So when you have these symptoms, let's just be clear. When you have these symptoms, go and confirm what exactly you're dealing with. Are you dealing with fibroids? Are you dealing with endometriosis? You should check, because these symptoms sometimes are interwoven into each other. So you should go and check. So once you have periods in between, like mine, I could have periods. I could have a period that lasted 7 to 8 days. It will go for 5 days, come back again. So in a month, I could have my period up to 2-3 times in a month at varying length of days. So these are symptoms you should look out for, please. Menstrual pains and cramps can be telling you that something is wrong. And then this issue of low blood count, you need to be checking your blood level, because fibroids feed on blood. So you need to know when your blood level is getting low. So these are signs. Once you start feeling dizzy, you start having headaches, you should go and check, please. These are the common symptoms out there. Then, of course, fibroids cause infertility. You could have miscarriages, especially if the fibroids are in your uterus. They will be competing with any fetus any egg that is fertilized. So it causes miscarriages, it causes infertility. These are major issues with women. Also, fibroids would alter the shape of your uterus, of your womb. These are symptoms that you should watch out for. Infertility, miscarriages, difficulty in conceiving. These are symptoms you should go and check, please.
Yeah, I do remember now. Somebody had told me about miscarriages, and it turned out eventually that it was because she had fibroid and she didn't even know.
Okay. So these are common symptoms you should look out for, and early detection is key. Please, ladies, pay attention to your bodies. Your body is always talking to you, telling you something is not right. Don't ignore your symptoms. Whatever you feel, anytime you feel discomfort, please go and check it out. Go and check. It could be something wrong somewhere.
So, you also talked about susceptibility, that some people are more susceptible. what from your knowledge, yeah, what is it that that could cross a person's mind to know that they may be more susceptible to having this from the next
Okay.
sister?
Okay. So if you have a mother or a sister who has had fibroids, you are at risk. If you're
Family
obese,
history.
if you have family history, maybe your mother has
Yeah,
had fibroids, or is your sister or a cousin, any family member that has suffered fibroids at some point
yeah.
in your family, you are likely at risk to also have it. Also, if you are obese,
Wait,
you are at risk. If you are obese, you are at risk. If you smoke, a lot of times, if you do have excessive consumption of alcohol, you are also at risk. Then also there's the issue of hormonal imbalances. They cause fibroids. When your estrogen level is high, it's going to encourage the growth of fibroids. So we have hormonal imbalance, family history or genetics. We also have family history or genetics. We also have your weight, your body weight. You need to keep your weight under some control. Then also, if you consume diet high in fatty acids, sorry, fatty foods. If you consume diet high in red meat, you are at risk.
red meat.
Red meat, please. Yes, red meat, fatty foods, diet that is animal based diet rather than plant based diet, you are at risk. If you consume alcohol, you are at risk. Excessive consumption of alcohol puts you at risk. Smoking puts you at risk. Low intake of fruits. If you do not incorporate fruits into your diet, you're exposing yourself
To
to
risk.
growing fibroids, especially in your reproductive years. Low intake of vegetables. Some people naturally don't like taking vegetables, so you want to look at that. Also, if you are low on vitamin D, vitamin D is the vitamin that discourages or inhibits the growth of fibroids. So you want to check your vitamin D level to be sure it's okay. It's not too low, but just okay. So you need to check all these things. If you do not check all these things, you are putting yourself at risk, especially in your reproductive years. This morning, I heard of a girl at 9 with fibroids, 9-year-old girl with fibroids. So there are lots of lifestyle changes we may need
That
to
that is
incorporate.
wow. That's serious. Well, I'm going to just apologize for the noise. I think that
Okay.
there's a lot of noise in the environment where people is, and you can't actually stop them. So I know that this may be bothersome to one or two people that will be listening to this, but that's what we have. I'm so sorry about that. Right. So a 9-year-old girl. mm, Well, I'm glad that they found it early enough so they can start working towards treatment. Yeah. Okay. So Favour, you you shared some of the misconceptions and wrong advice that you came across with me. Now, here are the things that I know. I remember you talking about that you suffered. People with fibroids can will most likely develop anemia because of shortness of blood, then fatigue and weakness naturally, then the misery because it affects so much about your life. It affects you, your work, it affects your social life, it affects having relationships or dating. And so, of course, all this will affect your self esteem and affect your finances. And then it makes you feel insecure, because you're going through this. There's so much you're going through, and you can't expect everybody around you to understand and adjust when you cannot relate with them naturally and normally like other people will. And so that leads you to feeling irritable because you're on edge. And so you get irritable and get unnecessarily aggressive let me not say necessarily aggressive. Necessarily aggressive to anyone who doesn't know what you're going through. They find you difficult to deal with, and yet they don't understand that you're fighting a battle, and that's why you're behaving the way you're behaving. I'm not saying that they should take it from anyone who is misbehaving and being aggressive towards them just because somebody else is fighting a battle, but just explaining that somebody may be going through something. Understand that it could be this. And you don't want to be this person. So this is all why you need to know and have this information at your fingertips so that you can do what you can do to take care of yourself. Favour, so one big thing that you mentioned is one misconception that you shared with me. You were told, actually true, you were told that this could be a spiritual issue and that you needed to do deliverance prayers and all that to deal with this thing because they have been going on for so long, right?
Yeah.
And then yes, so this is one of the things that I find that people need to think more about. This is a physical problem that you're feeling, the physical pain that you're feeling. When we start saying that it's spiritual and we don't investigate it medically from a medical perspective to see what may be going on, we are really losing out because some people tend to forget that the doctors, the knowledge, and everything that has been found out in medicine was also given to us from above. And so we should use these things. It's one of the problems that we have in our society, just deciding that we're going to just give up on whatever is happening and target spiritual. It's a spiritual thing. And then we don't do the work here. We're living on earth as human beings, so we need to do the work here on earth as well to take care of our human issues. And then in addition to that, you can now go ahead and continue to hope on the spiritual help or solution. But you must also do the human part because you are still human and you will never stop being human until you go. So you cannot focus only on spiritual and forget about the human part. That I will never agree with. And then you were also told that getting pregnant will stop this. And this is a big misconception. What this means? So this is a big misinformation that people come across. Imagine if you had swallowed that. To go and get pregnant while having the fibroids and then start having miscarriages. You know, so I want you to tell me, how did you know that this information was wrong?
Okay. Like I told you when we spoke, there are lots of misconceptions that are out there that are not totally correct. Like I told you, at some point, I thought it was spiritual. I thought fibroids were demons, and so I needed to go for deliverance. I went for a number of deliverance prayers actually, but it didn't disappear. And then some people said, oh, you can take herbs. There are herbal drinks you can take to shrink the fibroids. It doesn't work like that. These herbal drinks, while you are trying to treat fibroids, could bring you other issues, other complications that will affect your liver or kidney. So herbal drinks and supplements don't necessarily work for everybody. In fact, they hardly work correctly because the fibroids can just, shrink, or your symptoms can just go away for a while and then come back in multiplied forms. Then other misconceptions I had was initially my doctor said, oh, it's because you've not given birth. When you give birth, your fibroids
I've heard that before.
In fact, the doctor was telling me, just go and get pregnant. I said, but I'm not married yet. He said, it doesn't matter. Your life is on the line. Go and get pregnant. Just go and meet a guy, get pregnant. And then it will solve the problem.
Wow.
So say
this is why you should have like 2 or 3 different opinions, alternative opinions.
Yes. So when you go to see any gynae, please don't just stop at one. Do have other other visits to other gynecologists. There should be diversity of opinion. So don't just say, oh, my doctor, just one doctor says go and do this, and then you just fly with it. No. Do have 2-3 other opinions from different doctors, gynecologists particularly.
Because even that pregnancy could be a complicated pregnancy, having it with fibroids.
Yes, so we've had situations where women with pregnancy actually have fibroids coexisting in the womb with the baby. So that's another misconception. We even have women who have had children, have given birth to children. I've seen women who have given birth to children come back with fibroids, crazy fibroids. Yeah, so it's not. That's you understand? So it's not about getting pregnant. Even when you have had children, as long as you are still within that reproductive age, you can have fibroids. As long as you are still menstruating, you can have fibroids. You understand? Then there's this other misconception that is that food, your diet, your lifestyle does not affect the growth of fibroids. It's a misconception. If you consume diets high in red meat, fatty foods, you will have fibroids growing in your uterus. There are lifestyle changes that you should modify. If you do not modify, you will have those fibroids coming. And then, like I said, fibroids are not for older women. This morning, I had a case of a 9-year-old girl with fibroids. So it is not about fibroids being for older women. No. As long as you're in your reproductive age, you are at high risk.
And then remember you talking about sorry, if you want.
Okay. Go ahead. Okay, I was going to say that if you consume alcohol, excessive consumption of alcohol can affect you. So those are some of the things that you do. Sugar intake encourages fibroids. Fibroids love sugar. Anything sweet, anything sugary encourages them to grow bigger. So it boosts them. Apart from the fact that they feed on your blood, they suck the blood in the body. If you are always in the habit of taking sweet things, sweet drinks, you just love sweet things, you are encouraging the growth. So even if they were small, they start growing bigger at a very alarming rate.
The lifestyle change that we have to do. I mean, it's not easy to stop. If you have a sweet tooth, it's not easy to stop.
Just manage it.
But the pain and the suffering that one is going to go through, it's really worth it. So that self-discipline is very essential. And we only start it in small steps, right? Just do a little bit now. Every day you do a little bit, and before you know what's happening, it becomes a habit, because everything that affects us is habits. We make a habit of something and then we get used to it and we continue that way. So be encouraged. You have to watch your sugar intake. Anyone out there who loves sugar. So Favour, you talked about, here's another part that is that in our society we'll talk about, in our culture we'll talk about spirituality and all that. You told me that you couldn't even wear normal clothes, that you had to wear loose clothes because your stomach was now big and you actually was pregnant.
Yes, my stomach was.
I've known of people that they said, oh, that woman has been pregnant for 3 years. That woman has been pregnant for 2 years. And even some women will claim that they're pregnant and that somebody is doing something to them, or something is the reason why their pregnancy is not turning into a birth and all that. Whereas maybe it's fibroids that has extended the stomach.
Okay, so because I had fibroids for that long period, my stomach looked like a 6-month pregnant woman. So I couldn't wear. Yes, you would see my bulge. In fact, people were greeting me as a pregnant woman. They were greeting me, oh, you have a safe delivery. And it was very embarrassing that people, they assumed I was pregnant. My stomach was big. It was really obvious. I couldn't wear any fitted gown. I restricted where I went to. I had to dress like a pregnant woman, wearing those flowing clothes that do not hug your body, because the embarrassment was much. Every time I went out, somebody was greeting me. and telling me that you will give birth safely. I didn't, it was affecting my psyche, it was affecting my mental health. And then I had to stop going to a lot of places. I looked pregnant. I looked pregnant. My tummy, I had this bloated lower, the lower abdomen bloating. It was not funny. For a young girl, I didn't have relationship, I couldn't date. Men assumed I was pregnant. So for 25 years of my life, I was just reserved, introverted, and I didn't really have any serious relationship because
What did your family feel about this?
Okay, so all this while, they did not know what something was wrong with me. They just know that I was always having blood transfusion because when it is that time of the month, it looks like the whole blood in my body flows out. And then I start going into very dizzy spells. I start having terrible headaches. So I go to check my blood and the doctor tells me, oh, you need blood transfusion. So my family just knew that I was always going for blood transfusion. The pains were crazy. I had to take injections almost every other month because the medications they were giving me was not working. My body started getting used to the painkillers. So
before you discovered what was actually wrong?
Sorry?
Was it before you discovered what was actually going on with you?
Okay, so before I discovered what was wrong with me, it had taken over 10 decades of enduring the pain.
Over a decade, yeah.
Yes, over a decade. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I wasn't, nobody in my family knew much about fibroids. Nobody could help me.
You were thinking it was just a period problem. Okay.
Yes, I just thought it was normal. So I endured and endured. Sometimes I missed classes. I missed writing my exams because the flow would just come. And then I'll be wondering, how do I cope? There was no timetable. My period didn't even go with the calendar anymore. It could just show up. Okay. So it was bad. And then the injection. Then at some point I was chewing ice. So my family kept saying, this is wrong. But they didn't know I was just helpless. They didn't know something was terribly wrong. They were just telling me, this is your habit of eating ice. If I visited a friend, I would go to a freezer and take ice.
I will say something about ice. About eating. Eating ice is actually a sign of anemia. It's when a person is lacking iron.
I didn't know, but it was that bad. It was that bad. So nobody should go through that route for so long. Check your body. If it is what it is, accept what you have been diagnosed with. And again, I lived in self-denial. Even when I found out that I had fibroids, I just did not believe it was what they were telling me. I kept denying. How can I have fibroids? How can I have fibroids? I just could not accept the fact that yes. So I thought maybe it was a spiritual attack. I thought other things rather than go for treatment and take them out. So it impacted my life. Yeah, it affected my life. I didn't have a good life growing up. I didn't have good quality life growing up. I was just.
So you missed a lot of years. So you're going to be catching up now.
Yeah. I was in pain. I was in misery, and at some point, because I was going through a lot of pain, I became confrontational. I became unnecessarily aggressive and harsh. These people did not know I was covering up or enduring intense pain. They just thought I'm not friendly. They just thought I don't accommodate people. They just thought I don't laugh. A lot of people say I don't laugh, I don't smile. But I was going through a lot. I could not tell people for fear of being judged as someone who is promiscuous.
Promiscuous? How?
People think that when you have fibroids, it's because you are loose.
Really?
Yeah, some in this part of the world, they think you are loose. They think you've had series of abortions. That's why you have fibroids. They also think that you are, having some feminine or fertility issues that has.
Okay, this is why people will not want
fibroids. Yes. So it was a whole lot.
Yeah. So now you When you were telling me this story, I remember that you talked about how your daily life was when you would be at the bus stop or you'd be in class or something, you'd be at
Oh
school.
yeah.
Just
So
share a little bit of that.
yeah, okay. So I'm a trained accountant. I'm an accountant by profession, and then I also went into administration. So I had to, work at some point. But then I worked to the extent I could manage my symptoms. But when it was getting really bad, I had to stop work. Um, there were days I was on my way to work and the blood will just flow down my legs at the bus stop, on the road. Even in the office, I could hardly sit on my chair. I was always shuttling the toilet and my seat. I was not concentrating. It's either I'm going to change or I'm going to. So, and then I always had extra clothing, extra undies, extra sanitary pads. If you see me, I had big bags because I had to put things in there in case I got stained. I always went everywhere with at least two change of clothes, on these,
That's a
all
lot.
that.
That's a big burden.
It was, and it drained me financially. So at the point the blood
And
wasn't,
this is not something that people even want. Even or normal menses is not something that people want to even be discussing. How much more an exceptional one like this?
and then when the thing started, dropping on the roads at the bus stop,
No.
sometimes I'll be in the bus going to work. And then when I drop from the bus, I'm all stained. I have to call into the office to say I cannot come. I had to go back home. I'm always at the office. I have to go back home and change or just look for an excuse not to come back to work. So I was having a lot of days off work. It was not nice. People kept wondering why I always had issues when it's my menstrual period. People thought I was abnormal. In fact, I couldn't even say all I was going through. I just told them, oh, it's that time of the month. And it was becoming too frequent. So at some point, I had to, do the needful. I had to stop work and say, okay, I have to go and take care of my health. I was having health challenge. I just, told them that. So I had to stop work because it was too challenging for me. The accidents were becoming too frequent. I
Oh dear.
never wore bright colored clothes. I was always in black. I was always in navy blue, dark color clothes. I couldn't wear white. I couldn't wear yellow. You can see me, I'm wearing yellow. And I'm sitting comfortably. I never wore yellow for 25 years. I never wore white. I never wore pink. All the bright color clothes that ladies love to wear to look beautiful. I couldn't wear them. I had to always wear dark color
Now
clothes,
you're rocking
brown.
your yellow.
Yeah, you can
I
see
say
me.
you'll be catching up.
I am, I am, I am doing that. So I had to stop work and then I became self-employed. And of course, the resources were no longer forthcoming like when I was working and earning income. So I had to minimize the blood transfusions.
Making
I
things even
couldn't go
harder
for
for you.
injections anymore. So the pain was becoming very overwhelming for 25 years. It was a life of misery and pain. And so I
Hmm.
don't want any woman to go through that route for any reason. Once you have such symptoms, please don't think twice.
So
God comes to help us, but you need to go see a professional.
I remember you saying that when you went, you were supposed to do a procedure. I think it was supposed to be a surgery, but you heard something about the risk to your womb, and because of that, you decided not to do it, and you left it for another how many years again?
Okay, so the first gynae after I found out I had fibroids, the gynae that checked me said, "Oh, your fibroids are many. They've practically taken over your uterus, and so if we are taking out the fibroids, we will take out your womb because they are everywhere in your womb. They are taking over your womb, and we will remove your womb." So when I heard that, I ran. I want to have children when I'm married, but I didn't want an issue of after taking out the fibroids, I now start dealing with childbearing issues. So I ran away for another, I think it was 7-8 years. I decided to bear the symptoms for another 7-8 years.
What were you thinking? Were you thinking, I'll wait when I get married, at least let me have my children before I think about it? Or...
Okay, so why I was waiting was to look out for other options other than surgery. Okay. So I started taking a lot of supplements. I joined a lot of health and wellness companies to take supplements. I was just trying to see if the fibroids can shrink on their own. If there's anything I can do for them to just shrink and drop out. But one of them, after he saw my scan, he told me, one of the wellness companies that I went to consult told me and said, Favour, I will tell you the honest truth. Your life is on the line. There's no amount of these products you will take that will shrink your fibroids because they are huge, they are many, they are massive.
They need to be taken out.
Yes, if you are going to take these supplements, you are going to take it for a very long period of time. And I don't even guarantee those fibroids shrinking. So he encouraged me to pray and go for surgery. So I just thanked him and I just continued bearing the pain. But when I finally took a decision was when the fibroids were affecting my kidney. They were becoming so big and they were pushing against my kidney. That was when I knew it was time to go for surgery because I couldn't deal with kidney issues in addition to fibroid issues. I couldn't bear it. I couldn't. So I went for surgery 2017. I went for surgery.
This surgery you went for. So now, so what were you thinking about your uterus and your womb by the time you were going for this surgery? What were you?
Okay. So when I decided to go for the surgery, I was afraid I was going to die because the fainting spells increased. I couldn't walk. I was very low on energy. I was pale. My eyes were pale. My lips were pale. My hands were pale. I was white. I was afraid of dying. I was afraid I would sleep and not wake up. My blood level was consistently low. So a friend told me to go and see an expert, a doctor that is a fibroid expert. That's all he does, surgery, fibroid surgery. So when I went to see him, just to talk to him, I didn't go for surgery. I just went to talk to him, get counseling with him. So immediately he saw me. He said, wait, go for blood count. When I went for blood count, my blood level was terribly low. And he told me, we're admitting you immediately and we're having your surgery tomorrow. I didn't go with any bag. Nobody in my family knew I was there. And the man said, you are going to have this surgery. So, and then I had some mental counseling session. They have a psychologist in that hospital that will talk with you to allay your fears, ask you questions, and then prepare you for surgery. So he asked me to go to the psychologist and go through some kind of therapy, which I had. And he told me there's no two way about it. He's not going to let me go. He's going to have the surgery. I can organize payments later, but he's going to save my life. Wow. My life was... So I didn't have a choice. There was no opportunity to say yes.
So you were actually forced to save yourself.
Yes. I was staring at death. So I just prayed a simple prayer and I said, well, God, if this is how you want it, fine. I'm doing this. So I had that surgery. And when we had that surgery, it took about 5 to 6 hours. They took out the fibroids. He checked my uterus, checked my fallopian tube. Everything was okay. It was just the fibroids that were disturbing me. And since that time till now, I am good. I do not have heavy period flows. In fact, my period comes just 2 days. I don't take painkillers. I don't take any blood transfusion, nothing. 2 days, By the third day, I'm okay. I go out even with my period. I go out, I go anywhere. I even go to parties. Even with my period, I go to parties. So that was, and when I had that surgery, I didn't have any other option. Now I know there are other options, non-surgical options, non-invasive options that you can, explore, and very effective, extremely effective.
So those non-invasive options, do you have them in your book that you wrote for people to know about? Okay.
Yes, I have about 7 different non-surgical options you can explore. So surgery is not the only way to treat fibroids.
I remember you. Yeah.
Okay, and again, most doctors will tell you to have hysterectomy that takes out your uterus.
I've heard about
Some
that.
tell you surgery is the only way out. In fact, that's another misconception. Surgery is not the only treatment for fibroids. There are other treatments. There's a radiology, interventional radiology. There are different options. I explained it in detail in my book. There are about 7 non-surgical options in case you do not want surgery.
That will completely destroy this thing, because from what you told me, and from I've actually heard it before, that they can take out some of the fibroids, maybe leave the tiny ones, but then that's why somebody will do that, and a few years down the line, those tiny ones would have grown again.
Yes. So I have a friend who has had surgeries 3 times. She had 3 fibroid surgeries. So people think that surgeries go and come. They don't go and come. When you have an ultrasound scan, the scan does not pick the totality of the number of fibroids growing in your uterus. The scan picks the big obvious ones, then leaves the tiny small ones in there. So that is why I encourage women who have fibroids to go for MRI. MRI will tell you have 50 fibroids. Will tell you have
that's different from a scan.
Yes.
Oh.
Fibroids will MRI will pick the tiniest of fibroids.
All right.
But the scan only picks the big ones, the ones that are life-threatening. The scan could pick like 12, like 15, like 20. Meanwhile, you have about 70. So when you go for surgery, the doctors concentrate on taking out the big ones. They leave the tiny ones back in there. And then, of course, based on your lifestyle, because a lot of women make the mistake of, after surgery, they go back to eating wrongly. They go back to wrong lifestyle practices that make the small fibroids begin to grow at a very fast rate.
It's not that they're coming back. It's that those ones were actually there all along. And
yes, they were there. They were small. They were there. But because you're not paying attention to your diet, you're not paying attention to your weight, your body weight, you're not doing exercises, you're not eating right, you do not have high intake of fruits and vegetables. You do not watch your intake of red meat and then high diet of fatty foods. Those small ones begin to grow, and then the symptoms come back.
Okay, just a reminder, in the comments I have put the links to contact Favour and also to get your hands on the book so that you can be well informed.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've covered the questions that I had, that I thought that people should.
Okay, let me talk about one other thing, please. Before, let me talk about one treatment that I got to know, and I wish I knew it years back. So
I'll tell you those 8 years of waiting.
Yes. So why I waited for all these years was because I was afraid of surgery. I had a lot of fears because of post-surgical complications. The rate, it's painful. You have a scar on you, and then the recovery rate it's a longer. It takes 2 to 3 months to recover.
And being able to conceive a child.
Yes, being able to. If you have surgery, you can conceive, but you cannot give birth normally. You still have to have a C-section.
Okay.
Once you have a surgery and you conceive afterwards, you cannot give birth normally. It will be through a. It will
I
be
know
through
that some people frown on. Some people don't want the C-section.
So I didn't know of this medical intervention that has been around, but a lot of people don't talk about it. They call it uterine fibroid embolization.
Okay.
You don't get cut open. It's safe. The recovery rate is within a week to 2 weeks. You are ready to go out to your normal function. No scarring. It's safe, and then you don't need you don't lose so much blood. In fact, you don't lose blood. And then this particular procedure takes out all the fibroids.
I was going to say, and then you can also go for an MRI afterwards to be sure, right?
Yes, because it cuts this. It goes when you have your MRI reports, taken to the expert. He sees where you have the concentration of fibroids. He sees the blood vein that supplies blood, because fibroids feed on blood. They feed on your blood. So from that procedure, they would temporarily stop the blood supply to the concentration of fibroids in your uterus. And then immediately they do not have blood, because the blood is their lifeline. Immediately they don't have blood to feed. They just naturally shrink and they drop off. So that one is the safest. It's easy. You don't have no side effects, no scary side effects, no complications. Yeah.
What do you call it
so
again?
I'm preaching that for women who don't want surgery, who are afraid.
What did you call? Oops.
On all the procedures that you can have, non-surgical procedures. If you don't want surgery.
What did you call it?
Non-surgical, non-invasive, non-surgical procedures.
Neural embolization.
Uterine fibroid embolization.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah. So I think we've gone through, and then if anyone has any questions or still needs further information, they can always easily contact you through the links that I put.
It's okay.
Thank you so much, Favour, for the courage.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
For the boldness, for your fearlessness in coming out and sharing this with other people. I say that when you go through something painful, something that hurts and takes away from you, adversity, I say that adversity gives birth to a lot of good things as well. It's not always just negative in every way. It's painful when it's going on, but after it's happened, do you know that it shows you? For some people, they shrink back and they're like, oh, woe is me, feeling so bad about what happened. And yes, naturally, you will feel bad. But as I said to you, this is now like a ministry for you to help other people. Instead of just taking the pain and all you know about it is negativity, now you're using it in a positive way to help other people by sharing your experience and sharing the knowledge that you have. So people can know how to go about checking what options they have, and that to know that it's not the end of the world. And that fear of, if I do something about it, I'm going to end up not having my uterus, I'm not going to be able to conceive. You now know that if that's all you've heard, you know that there are other options for you to look into. And you need more than one. Yes, you need more than one opinion. Go for a second opinion, go for a third opinion if what you're hearing, what you're hearing is okay. All right. Thank you, Favour. Thank you for being with us on the Prayer Lounge today. And I'm so happy to hear this. So happy that now you can regain all those years that you lost. You're going to live every day to the fullest, right?
Yeah, I'm wearing a lot of bright color clothes now. I'm going to parties, I'm going to weddings, I'm visiting everybody now. I'm just catching up on the life I've lost 25 years, wasted 25 years. So I'm trying to turn it around to something positive, something I can use and look back and say, okay, I went through this, but I'm helping other women to stop their own pain. I had that pain so that no other woman should have that pain for so long. No, you don't need it.
Bless
You
you.
don't need it. Thank you so much for having me. I'll always be here for you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Favour. Okay. Favour, hang on. I'm just going to close here.
Okay.
Bye, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. And remember that in another hour, I will be on with something that is going to show you how you can redirect your relationships with your friends, family, and any type of relationship with setting boundaries. Bye.